Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a Tenpai Dragon deck profile with a Buster Blader engine that is actually in the side deck. So the logic being is that with this deck is game one will happily go second. Now you can opt to main deck the Blader engine if, for example, you know that your locals might have a lot of Tenpai, but by having the deck built as a Tenpai deck, then you can just choose to go second, right? And you could theoretically always win the die roll. But then obviously going into game 2 or 3, you would side in the Blader cards, happily go first, and it will kind of throw your opponent off a little bit, siding in a really good, strong engine like the Buster Blader engine, which as well, like your opponent's not really going to be siding in breakers because the Tenpai Dragon deck doesn't really establish a board, but if you then suddenly Buster Lock them, they're probably not going to have the tools to kind of beat that as well. So it's just an interesting take. So the main deck this is just a Tenpai deck, so there's nothing too crazy or fancy. So we've got Hydra, we've got Chandra, Vajra, Genroku, Dora, one Bestial Magnemite. These are all just pretty standard. Dora is not really standard at 2, but it's just an extra name to be able to link off and do Blader things if you need it as well. The 3 Kaiman, the 1 Summoning, the 1 Terraforming, and the 1 Pot of Prosperity. Where it might look a little bit different, because I don't want to side in you don't want the whole side deck to just be a going first thing. Like you still want to be able to side some things for other matchups. So I'm opting to main Thrust and 1 Talents. So this is kind of part of the non-engine, but Thrust is obviously just a good card. Thrust allows you to access your Tenpai engine through like Terraforming, Pot of Prosperity, getting into Summoning, for example. It can also break boards, obviously, by accessing Talents. But for the most part, it's really useful with the Blader engine to be able to set prologue, but having it in the main deck just means that there's less, you can side deck more. You can side deck a variety of other cards, not just the Blader stuff. Then for hand traps, we have Shifter, Perulia, and then just all the good ones, such as Ash, Vela, Nib, Imperm. So just a stack of hand traps. When we do go into games 2 and 3, Shifter and Molchamia are generally always coming out. It depends on the matchup, of course. I mean, a lot of the decks these days are playing Shifter. Obviously, the best decks aren't necessarily they lose to Shifter, but then all the decks around it, most of them are playing Shifter in some capacity. So Shifter's a card that if we're playing something like Ubel, then you keep it in. But if it's a deck that is similarly playing Shifter, that's when you probably just choose to go first because you've got some really strong options in the side deck as well. But I'll get onto the extra deck and then I'll show you the side deck as well. Okay, for the extra deck we have the 1 Buster Blader Fusion and the 1 Buster Dragon just for the Blader engine. And then for the most part, again, it's just going to look fairly straightforward. It was, very similar to just what a Tenpai extra deck would look like. I'm missing some pieces of what you would typically play in Tenpai, so some of it is just kind of thrown together. But we do have the Trident, the Transcendent, the 2 Biden Dragon, Black Rose. There should be more synchros in this, but I just don't have a lot of the toolbox cards, so I'm just playing Seal and Whelp. They're kind of more part of the Blader engine. And then I know that most people aren't really doing this anymore, but this is just and there's Striker Dragon for the Blader engine. You can just link it off if you need access to that. But yeah, so a lot of these links you could probably just cut for other synchros, but it's just something I opted to kind of fill the extra deck with for now, just for the sake of testing, and just kind of testing just the main Tenpai engine cards and the Blader engine cards, and just filling it with other stuff at the moment. But I'll show you the side deck because that's obviously where a lot of the main deck is as well. So we're playing 2 Buster Blader. It was very important. It doesn't really matter which 2 you play, the original, the new one, or 2 of the same. 1 of the extra deck lock, because you can set this up fairly easily. And then we're playing 3 ways to prologue. So we've got Trap Trick and Prologue. And obviously we've got the Thrust in the main deck as well. So there's really 9 kind of copies of thrust. If you get hand trapped on something, is thrust. Sorry, 9 copies of prologue between the 3 prologue, 3 trap trick. Not playing the whelp to search prologue at this moment. So I'm just trying to keep it more slimline, and of course we've got the 1 memories. So it's a 10 card engine that you kind of have to side deck. Typically what I'm doing is, if I'm going into game 2, the more charmies come out, the shifters come out, and then that's 6, and then you can kind of just take out 1 of each hand trap, for example. So Imperm, Nib, Veiler, Ash, and that's 10 cards. So that's a 10 card engine that you could take out just for the blader cards, and then you just rank 2 of your hand traps. The other 5 cards, let me know in the comments what you think that the best kind of picks for this are, but I'm opting for Phantasme. It can come in going first if its matchup is good, but I'm playing just some breakers in the form of Lightning Storm and Duster, which we can obviously access through Thrust as well, but it just helps deal with back row. So they're the 5 cards I do have for the side deck in terms of just that are more flexible, and then there's the blader cards. So it's an interesting idea. I'm not going to go through any combos because there's not really much to combo really. The blader cards is just activate prologue and win. The Tenpai cards, obviously, they go second. So what I'll do is I'll just do a bunch of test hands. I'll put the blader cards in, and then I'm just going to just do a bunch of test hands and just kind of look for consistency. Okay, so just for some test hands, I'm not really going to play them out. It either combos or it doesn't. Like I said, the combo is not really that interesting, but just kind of looking at whether or not we can play. At the minimum, we kind of just want to set up seals, and prologue is probably just like the best way to play. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we could definitely set up seals, prologue with a hand like this. Having Dragon Buster as well is nice. It's just a pitch off of the Sangan summoning as well, so we can access it. So that's the full extra deck lock as well. Obviously no non-engine in this hand, but if we lost game 1, for example, or our opponent makes us go first, it's not the end of the world. It just depends, and that's obviously the mind game with a deck like Tenpai, is you just don't know if your opponent's going to make you go first. But if they do, then we are very prepared for that. Going to another one. We've got Summoning, Thrust, Ash, Imperm, and Memories. So again, Memories is going to be a pitch off of Summoning. We can definitely do what we need to here. We only get access though to the prologue engine if our opponent does opt to interact with our board in some way. So whether or not we can get to seals, it just depends on what our opponent has and what they do. But otherwise, if they do, we get to the prologue otherwise. Prologue, Trap Trick, Prologue, Hydra, and Genroku. So with this, we have no non-engine cards, but again, if we're starting this in, we're hoping to go first, and we've definitely got this Trap Trick is just going to access Imperm as another just interruption, and we can definitely get to the seals with what we have as well. We'll do a couple more. We're just going to keep this one fairly quick. Okay, so this is fantastic. This does everything we need to do. Only 1 non-engine, but again, we're hoping to go first. I mean, Thrust can obviously get to talents too, so there's 2 non-engine if we were to be going second here, but we do have Trap Trick to access prologue, plus we do have plenty of Tenpai engine as well. And one last one. So we had fairly consistent access to the engine, or to both sides of it here. Of course, now that I say it, we're not going to get it. But so we're, again, just going for our seals pass here, and Veiler as our only kind of non-engine. So hoping to survive the turn with that one. But otherwise, that's going to be it for this one. I want to try and keep it just fairly short, but it's just an interesting take. So it's just Tenpai, but with just more of a Smokescreen type engine for kind of that mind game going into games 2 and 3. But otherwise, hope you enjoy.